Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into something literally all of us will face at some point, the midlife crisis. But we're going to completely flip the script on how you look at it. If you've been feeling that heavy weight of the daily grind, or you're just kind of wondering what this next chapter of your life is supposed to look like, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
So, first things first, is it an actual crisis or just a massive wake-up call? Pop culture loves to tell us middle age is all about, sudden panic, buying some totally impractical red sports car, and just blowing up your life out of nowhere. We've all seen the movie trope, right? But when you actually look at the data and the psychology behind it, it tells a completely different story.
Section 1. Rethinking the Midlife Crisis, a paradigm shift. To really figure this out, we've got to completely rethink our definitions.
Because experts don't actually see this phase as some destructive crisis at all. It's defined as a recalibration point, a healthy, aggressive forcing function to strip away societal expectations and discover what actually matters for the second half of life. Think of it as a forcing function. It actively pushes you to strip away all those expectations set by your parents or your peers and demands that you finally ask what matters to you. It's really not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough disguised as discomfort.
Which brings us to Section 2, the midlife perfect storm, and exactly why it happens.
Because this recalibration, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Around your 40s or 50s, a unique storm hits. You get this specific collision of four pressures: the U-curve of happiness, the shift in time perspective, the sandwich pressure, and that gap between expectation and reality.
Let's start with the U-curve of happiness. Behavioral economists David Blanchflower and Andrew Oswald found that life satisfaction naturally dips in your late 30s to early 50s, before steadily climbing back up in your 60s. This is a completely normal cross-cultural phenomenon. So, if you're feeling a slump, you're not broken. You are literally just at the bottom of a completely normal statistical curve.
Then, add on the sandwich pressure. You are simultaneously managing teenagers or young adults, dealing with the declining health of aging parents, and usually hitting career ceilings all at the exact same time. You are literally sandwiched in this squeeze of peak responsibility. The mental load is just absolutely maxed out right now.
And then comes the heaviest hit of the whole storm, the shift in time perspective. When we're younger, time since birth feels infinite and additive. You're just stacking up years and experiences. But suddenly, right in midlife, the perspective flips to time left. Time becomes a finite resource you are constantly auditing. And that sudden shift, it forces a really deep, sometimes painful look at how you're spending your days.
So how do we navigate this without panicking? Section 3, crossing the transition successfully.
It all comes down to a four-part framework. Crossing this phase successfully means replacing impulsive reactions with intentional, steady changes. Resilient people who cross this bridge use these 4 steps. Separate grief from action, run small experiments, shift to authenticity, and build a tribe. Step 1. Separate grief from action. Midlife comes with real grief for unfulfilled goals, for sure, but the trap is letting that turn into impulse buys and radical exits, blowing up your life just to numb the feeling. The fix? Treat your discomfort as data. That uneasy feeling isn't a sign to scrap everything. It's just a signal that something specific is out of alignment.
Step 2 is to run small, low-risk experiments. Resist that urge for an overnight disruption. Audit your energy for 2 weeks to see exactly what drains you and what fuels you. Try before you leap. Take a weekend course. Start a side project. Maybe shadow someone in a new field. Test it out in low-stakes ways to see if the reality actually matches the fantasy in your head.
Step 3 is a massive psychological pivot from acquisition to authenticity. In your 20s and 30s, the focus is all about acquisition, building a career, gathering assets, chasing status. But in midlife, you got to shift your entire focus toward internal peace and authenticity. It's about letting go of those external, shiny objects and aligning your daily life with who you are right now.
And finally, step 4, build a second half tribe. Social networks naturally shrink as we get older, so you have to actively surround yourself with peers who are talking about what they want to learn and do next, rather than just complaining about the past. If you're clinging to old routines and stagnant conversations, you're going to stay stuck. You need friends who are in a growth phase too.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on during your own recalibration. Ask yourself honestly, is this the life you actually wanted, or just the one you defaulted into? As you audit that finite time you have left, treat the discomfort as data.
Run those small experiments and use this wake-up call to build an incredibly intentional second half of your life. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.